All right, let's dig into composing. We are going to really focus on making our composing clear. That's where we're going to be explicit with our instruction so that once students understand composing, they can then go and engage in activities more related to transfer and inquiry. Now, as we think about composing, there are a few ideas that are really important to emphasize. First, composing is the ability to take two or sometimes more parts and put those together to create a total, a sum, or a whole. So we're taking these different parts and we're putting them together. When students have an understanding of what it means to compose numbers, it's going to help with their fact fluency, and then later on it's going to help with their computational fluency. One of the things that's really important in mathematics is what students understand about mathematics. So as we do a lot of activities related to composing numbers, it helps students understand different ways to represent numbers, and it also helps students think about numbers flexibly. Maybe I compose 2 and 3, that equals 5, but I could also compose 3 and 2, and that equals 5. So I'm starting to develop some flexibility with my thinking. And when we do anything related to composing, we're going to use a lot of different representations, which we're going to get to in just a minute. But we want to emphasize representations like objects, drawings. We also want to think about stories that could help us understand composing. And then we want to tie this into those numbers and subsequently equations that we can use to represent what we just did. For example, I talked about 2 and 3 equals 5. Then I could write that as 2 plus 3 equals 5. Now, what are some of the different representations we want to bring in here? Well, we always want to think about using that concrete representational abstract framework to really help students understand what the mathematics means. The concrete representational abstract, or some of you might call it the concrete pictorial abstract, or even others might call it the concrete semi-concrete abstract. This is a framework, and the whole idea is using this framework to use multiple representations to really help students understand math concepts and procedures. And the CRA framework is really important for all students, but it is particularly important when students are having difficulty with math. And one of the things I really want to emphasize is that this isn't linear. I don't describe the CRA as a sequence. You don't first do this, then that, then this. Instead, these things are overlapping. And so I'll give you some examples of that as we do some examples with my manipulatives. So what are concrete manipulatives? If you just need a brief review, those concrete manipulatives are three-dimensional objects that students can touch and move around to demonstrate different math concepts and procedures. Here, they would demonstrate what it means to compose numbers. So maybe you might use counting bears or these dinosaur counters or snap cubes. There are so many different hands-on materials. The representational are those two-dimensional flat images that show pictures that we can use to demonstrate math concepts and procedures. Maybe we look at these pictures of these bears or pictures of these rods and units. All of these could be used to help us understand mathematics. And then we do the concrete and representational to really make sure that students understand mathematics in the abstract. That is math presented with its numerals, like you see here. It could also be math presented with number words, like you see here. Or it could also be with symbols, like the plus sign or the equal sign. I don't have examples of that here, but I think you probably understand what I'm talking about. And with that concrete representational abstract, we can really help students understand what it means to compose. So I'm going to do a few examples with those concrete manipulatives and also with some of those representational, those pictorial drawings to then show how it's helpful to use those representations to help students understand what it means to compose in the abstract. So let's go ahead and get started. So I have some different manipulatives over here. I have the motors, I have these nice square tiles, and I have some different shapes. And I can use these to help students understand what it means to compose. Maybe first I take these tiles. I'll go ahead and bring all of my tiles here. And I see that I have a set of 1, 2 blue tiles. And then here I have 1, 2, 3 yellow tiles. And if I want to compose, I'm going to put these together. Now I'll figure out how many I have all together. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 square tiles. Now I'm going to move those over here because that was just one example that I can do with the concrete. Maybe I'm going to use this next example to show the concrete and the pictorial. So here I have some red trapezoids. I'll go ahead and lay them out there just like that. And then I have some green triangles. I'll go ahead and put them there just like that. So let's see, I have a set of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 red shapes or 5 red trapezoids. And then I have 1, 2, 3 green triangles. That's a set of 3. If I want to compose these, I'm going to put them together in a set. Maybe I want to squish them together all like this, or I could also make it a little bit nicer in terms of putting my sets together. But then how many do I have all together? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I have 6, 7, 8. So altogether I have 8. So for this problem, if I wanted to show this in the abstract, I could write something here like 5 plus 3 equals 8. So here I have a concrete representation and I have the abstract representation. Now I'm going to move my shapes down just a little bit so that up here at the top I can do something with my motors. Now this time I'm not going to show my sets by color, but instead I'm just going to organize my sets here. So first I'm going to show a set of 4 motors, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to show a set of 5 motors. Let me get them out here and then we'll count them to just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here I have these 2 sets, and if I want to compose these sets, I can put these sets together, so I can go ahead and put them all together there. And sometimes that looks a little bit messy, so one of the things I might want to do is line these sets up to make it a little bit easier for counting. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I composed 4 and 5 to make 9. So maybe I want to write that right here. 4 plus 5 equals 9. Now earlier we talked about that pictorial or that representational. And so another thing that I could do is I could draw this same thing that I just did. So maybe I think, well, I have a set of 4. Maybe I just draw 4 blue circles just like that. And then I'm going to think about composing that with a set of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 pink circles. So now I could touch and count these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 4 plus 5 equals 9. Now I've got my counters over here that I kind of ignored. I used them at the beginning. I'm going to come back to them one more time at the end. I'm going to move this over and just show something here. Remember, with composing and decomposing, I don't always have to be using just 2 sets. So I could use these different color counters and I could add another set of counters because it is totally possible for me to compose 3 sets together or 4 sets together. So what if I take these 2 counters? Here I've got my 2 blue counters. So there I have 2. And then earlier you probably remember that I had 3 yellow counters, so I'll go ahead and break those in here. But maybe now I also have a set of these 2 red counters. So I could compose these by putting them all together here. I could put them together in a shape like this, or if I wanted to, I could line them up like I did last time. I often like lining things up to see how many I have. But then here, if I think about what I have, well, I have a set of 2 plus a set of 3 plus another set of 2. And when I compose those or put those all together, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So altogether, I have 7. So those were just some examples of the ways that we could use these hands-on materials or these representational, these pictorial drawings to help students understand what it means to compose in the abstract. All right, so that brings us to activity 1. On this activity, I'd like you to think about that CRA framework and those concrete representational, and abstract ways to help students understand composing. So I would like you to list all of the different concrete manipulatives you might use to help students with composing, all of the different representations you might use, and then what might be some examples of the composing in the abstract. Have fun with this activity, and I'll see you on the flip side.